Welcome to this unit about innovation, concepts about innovation. We need this to share these concepts because we need to have a common knowledge about what innovation is, at least to share the same concepts in order to define when we talk about innovative thinking, we need to know what we are talking about. And this is why we are talking about, we are showing some concepts about innovation. So let's start with who was an innovator. Here at the left we have Darwin, and at the right we have Thomas Alva Edison. Thomas Alva Edison was one of the contributors to the invention of the incandescent light bulb. And he not just invented the incandescent light bulb, but also managed to bring it to the market and to light the streets of his city. Darwin developed a theory describing how the world, the species of animals and people, and all the creatures in Earth evolve. He is a brilliant scientist. He's a brilliant mind, but the product is a description of what is occurring in the nature. They don't invent anything, they don't bring nothing new, just explain, which is a very brilliant explanation of what nature is. The same goes for at the right we have Henry Ford, and at the left we have Albert Einstein. The achievement of Einstein is also the same. He managed to describe how the universe works. So he is the first, the brilliant mind, being the first to describe, to bring to our knowledge how the universe works. But he was also a discoverer, a scientist discovering how the nature works. In the case of Henry Ford, he didn't invent the car, but he managed to bring cars to the market in a serious way. So he's an innovator. The same we can say for Tim Berners-Lee. He invented the World Wide Web, and the World Wide Web reached the market and is governing most of our activities today. So he's an innovator. Marie Curie is also a brilliant scientist who discovered what was already present in nature, the radioactivity. The same for others. So if we want to describe how innovation is, I would like to introduce this definition from the perspective of business books. Say that innovation is the commercial application of an idea. It's a commercial and social fact able to generate wealth. That's relevant, to generate wealth, generate benefits to the society. Another definition is materialization, combination, and synthesis of knowledge and new relevant and worthy products, processes, or services. We have this one application for the very first time to be an innovator, innovation, very first time, of knowledge of rational practices to the satisfaction of social economical needs. A necessary condition is a successful introduction into the market. It should be shared to the market, to the society. Some concepts that are not innovation but are related to innovation. Invention. New idea based on scientific or technical knowledge used to fulfill a need but which could not have neither economical feasibility nor application in the real world. The relation between invention and its possible application is complex and usually not well understood depending on different factors, state of the art, market needs, financing, out of the scope of the inventor. This is why we say that invention is an intellectual activity. while innovation is a social activity. You have to socialize your product, your change, your new process, your new way of marketing with the society in order to become an innovation. We introduce also from the guru of management, Peter Drucker, what he distinguishes among innovation and improvement. He says improvement is incremental improvement of products and services. Manage evolution using the new products to prepare for the next innovation. And finally, innovation properly said, what is innovation for him is an attitude more than a, a, an action, is more an attitude, the attitude of systematic use of any change, being this change technologically, demographic, economic, or social, or as business opportunities. So it's more the way we think and the way we see and we explore our environment in order to extract all the changes to be able to extract opportunities from these changes. This is a latest uh, definition that is more broad than the former definition, the previous definitions. Innovation is any change based in knowledge able to generate value. Okay, here we have three elements. First is change. We need to change. Change a product, change a service, change a process, change the way we market, change the way we produce, change the way we distribute, etc. Change. This is the first key ingredient of this definition. The second is based in knowledge. That means that you know what is already existing, so your change is new. This is why we need knowledge for knowing what is new. If this change is the same of other change, it's not an innovation. Excuse me. But if with the knowledge we can know, we are able to know if our change is a new one. If it's new, then and it generates value, value to the society, value to the market, etc., value that can be measured by wealth, then we are talking about innovation. The need for innovation and differentiation. Michael Porter just analyzed how companies invest trying to differentiate from each other, and they in the end they cannot differentiate because they put all their investments in better performing the current activities they are doing. So they are producing in different positions, but they are producing to what is known as the productivity frontier. But in the end, all the companies just struggling in the productivity frontier without innovation ends in the like. Okay, so there's no differentiation. We need to differentiate by innovating as a very strategic movement to become more profitable in the market. This is an expression from MIT from 2016. Innovation is the true engine of economic growth. It's like Schumpeter says, innovation is the creative destruction of the market. Types of innovation. We have so far discovered, talked about concepts of innovation. Let's talk about types of innovation. By its nature, we can define product innovation, process innovation, and market innovation. We could also commercial innovation, organizative innovation, etc. How can we classify innovations. Different innovations have different nature, different impact. Classifying by impact or influence, we can talk about incremental, sustainable, radical, a big change. Incremental is a small change, progressive improvements. Systemic and autonomous. Autonomous means that an innovation doesn't depend of the environment, of the surrounding elements, while systemic means that you need to change not only your own activity but also the activity of yours upwards and downwards. And then architectural or paradigm shift is those innovations that produce a profound, a big change either in the technology and in the market. Abernathy Clark used the term transilience. In class, we provided an example of different mm, 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 areas of a diagram to classify the impact or influence by regular innovations, revolutionary innovations, niche innovations, and architectonic innovations. Talking about revolutionary innovations and radical innovations, my question is, do you really think that radical innovation exists? The point here is that we can talk about the radical innovation because we didn't know what were the previous work of different scientists, different engineers. Even the brightest innovation, the most of radical excuse me, radical innovations as the incandescent light bulb, we said that there were a lot of attempts in the history before a proven incandescent light bulb reached the market. So most of the radical innovations come from existing knowledge surrounding, and there are lots of attempts just to produce this radical innovation. And we finish with seeing how the periodic table evolved in time. Again, a lot of attempts try to classify the different elements, the chemical elements, until at the end we arrive to the now existing periodic table of the elements. Welcome to this second unit of innovation concepts. By continuing by classifying the innovations, we can also classify the innovation by their origin, how they are originated. And we can differentiate from derived from scientific push or pulled by market needs. For instance, the transistor or the World Wide Web is derived from scientific push or technology push, while most of medicine innovations are originated by human urgency to research and to find new solutions to that need. So they can be classified as demand pull. Depending on the industry, not all industries have the same path, the same pace for innovation. They need some industries are more innovators than others. Here we have a diagram made by Keith Pavitt that tries to classify, depending on the industry, how is the nature of their innovations. And he established an axe from competitors intensity, competition intensity, from low number of competitors to high number of competitors. And in the vertical axe, depending on where the technology is generated inside the industry or is generated outside the industry. We call this endogenous for those that are generated inside the industry, and exogenous for where the technology is generated outside the technology. For instance, science-based pharma industry, scale-intensive large chemical industry, car manufacturers, And here, more endogenous specialized providers and machinery and software, and exogenous and with higher competitors dominated by providers, fashion industry, furniture industry, shoemaking industry. Here, there's a definition about what is needed or what are the key elements of the crossroad of innovation. We see that we need to cross markets, technologies, and social needs of society. That's another point about why innovation is a social fact, not an intellectual fact. So we can discuss here the innovation in the center, needing the three elements. And if we lack some of these three elements, we have difficulties. For instance, obsolete technologies or not accepted by society or not economically interesting. Okay. Here is another classification about technologies. More recently, Clayton Christensen, de- defined what he calls the disruptive innovation. What is a disruptive innovation? It's an innovation that comes with a lower technology profile than existing technologies, but who achieve market acceptability. So the lower technology profile, having market acceptability can upgrade to the higher technology profile. Here are the discs about 8 inches, which have superior storage. And here we have the discs of 5.25 that have less storage capability. By the time the users are satisfied by the this is the user needs. By the time the users are satisfied by the capacity of the 5.25 discs, then most of the market goes with them because the the features that this technology provides, less incumbent, less space, more easy to handle, etc., make that this is just used by a few professionals, and most of the market goes for this. And the same occur with the 3.5 disc. So disruptive technologies are technologies that start lower, are accepted by the market, and step by step achieve a higher capacity that satisfies almost all the market. Innovation today. Some innovation difficulties regarding the risk or competitors. Here's an example of a large industrial group investing in probiotics for celiac, and it showed in class other approach that use parasitic worms and natural bacteria to help defeat celiac disease. So we see how different approaches compete to bring innovations to the market. And here we try again to discuss the concept that innovation is a social fact more than an intellectual, just an intellectual. And this is an example of a movie that made the difference by using a different strategy for promoting this movie, using the all the power of social networks, and making promoting the effect of the movie, not the movie by itself. So they achieve, with a very low budget, achieve a large acceptability in the market. Same for this other movie. We don't spend much time on it, on this discussion. Here is an example of co-innovation by using, some argue that using clients for innovation, it's a good thing and lowers your uncertainty of launching your innovation to the market because you will gain more acceptability. And this is how a known uh, food retailer chain as Mercadona use co-innovation, use the users to taste before they launch any product. The same for personal hygiene, bath care, personal care. They use this as innovation, as co-innovation. But following the customers can lead to some dangers. Maybe incremental improvements. Why? Because clients does know don't know what is needed or what can be new. Product followers the same reasoning, and here in the leading clients and paying improvement like the software. Here the leading client here in the leading clients is special dangerous. This is the case of Kawasaki. Kawasaki was the first in launching the jet ski, and in the jet ski, people are standing up, so like in normal skis. So it was an innovation, and they asked the champions of the championships. They asked the champions how can they improve the jet ski, and they said that they should include a path between the knees for the riders to go safer and more comfortable by using the jet ski. They couldn't ask this manufacturer to go seated, because none of the champions were seated when using the jet ski. It was other manufacturers that thought that maybe it's better to go seated for other customers. In fact, Kawasaki is a motorbike manufacturer, and motorbikes are ride seated. So why Kawasaki didn't think about seating skis? So this is the official shop manual. You see, always standing up, and it came other manufacturers that thought that maybe you are more comfortable if you are seated, but it was different manufacturers, and Kawasaki never reached any leading position in this market. Okay, here are some arguments. The plan for a company should be to guide people with new products and not doing surveys on the market research. Instead of a deep market investigation, it is better to improve a product and afterwards trying to create a market for it. Who said this? Was Akio Morita, the former CEO of Sony. He says, our plan is to guide people through new products instead of asking them what types of product they would like. People, the market, do not know what is possible, whereas we do. Therefore, instead of doing a deep market research, we perfect our ideas about the product and its use, and then try to create the market for it, educating people and communicating with them. The same says, or the same said Steve Jobs in 1985 in an interview in a known magazine. Steve Jobs said, we built the Macintosh for ourselves. We were the group of people who were going to judge whether it was great or not. We weren't going to go out and do market research. 12 years after, in Business Week, Steve Jobs said, a lot of times people don't know what they want until you show it to them. So this is a good example of technology push. The case of Sony and the case of Apple. Both are technology push. They just launch the new technology to the market and people embrace them. It's like post-it. Before, no one would ask for a post-it. Now people use post-its. It's a technology push. Despite innovation is a need. There are innovation hurdles. There are three risks that hinder the diffusion of the innovation and technology. We have the technological dimension, lack of certainty in the moment of transforming a technology into a new product in a minimal time with the needed quality at an optimized cost. So, because it is an innovation, you have less experience, and so you can manufacture it with less quality, probably, and not tight enough. There's a financing dimension. The risk of innovation is higher than any other industry risk. And the lack of references to assess it, lack of interest of vice president in large companies, and the difficulty of assessing the progression of innovation scare away investors and stakeholders. And innovation management is a risk by itself. It's not an easy task to understand the innovation changes. It's a young function, not well accepted in the current company structure. The more productive a company is, the less capability it has to change for innovation. There is some research about recent innovations and how different industries are more why different industries are more innovative than others. And these people, these authors introduced several dimensions and analyzed the innovations regarding these dimensions. Dimensions are this one: financing dimensions, business model to innovate in the way you earn money, networkings and alliances, who are your investors, who are your providers, who are your distributors, auxiliary processes, key processes, what are your processes and what are the processes you outsource. In the offer, not only the product, the value of the product system, how the product works and what is the product about, and what are the services associated to this product, and also in the commercialization, the user experience, a good brand, and an adequate channel. So here we have the example of the iPod that in scoring in the 10 dimensions in business model, in networking, in enabling processes, in core processes or key processes, performance, product system, in the service, in the channel, in the brand, and customer. Remember that Apple not only launched the iPod, but also arranged a networking and enabling process as the iTunes to sell songs one by one instead of an album, or instead of a long play, or instead of any set. So they innovated across different dimensions. And there are some sectors that innovate, that seem more innovative, and others seem less innovative, but in fact they are innovative enough. For instance, computer manufacturing. Many think it is an innovative sector, but few realize that most innovations come from only one dimension. Okay. In the case of banks, you may think that they are not innovators, but they are more innovators than we would think. Innovation comes in dimensions that are not known by customers. And home appliances, not very innovative, but their efforts touch various dimensions. These are business model, networking, auxiliary processes. You got the list here. Key processes, value of the product system, services, channel, brand, and user experience. The same for all this, the same. And you see here is a product system, and also, sorry, this is value of the product and product system and key processes in the case of bank, for instance. We have seen and we have classified how the innovations work, how what is an innovation, what is the dimensions of an innovation, what are the dimensions of an innovation, what is the impact of an innovation, but how can we innovate? And for that, people have defined processes for innovation. So we say here, innovation is a process, is a process. We'll see. This is the first process defined by people regarding how the innovation occurs. They said we need to have basic research, then applied research, then came the experimental or technological development, then came the manufacturing, industrial fabrication, and finally marketing and distribution. So this model was called the pipeline model. You need to, as input, your basic research, and then you will get innovations. So the United Kingdom trusted in this model and just funded a lot of basic research in the hope that it would generate more innovations. However, they saw that the innovations didn't come, and what they got were more Nobel Prizes. Japanese instead didn't have didn't have basic research, but they produced a lot of innovations. So they started to think that this model, the pipeline model, could not be explaining how innovation occurs. So other models appeared. There is the Klein and Rosenberg model, not shown here, and the interactive model. In the interactive model, the idea is the starting element of the innovation, and the idea can come from research and development or from the market as useful information. And then once you get the idea, of course, you need to experiment with it. You need to include more information and provide a solution. Once you get the solution, you make the test, you finally manufacture it, and finally launch to the market. Diffusion. When you launch your product to the market, your market learns. New needs appear, and so new potential demand. When companies launch their innovation to the market, the state of the art also increases. The technology increases, and the knowledge of companies also increase. So the state of the art increase, and then the technical feasibility also increase. So new technical feasibility and new potential demands are prone to create a new idea. So the key element that you need to get from here is that to get a good idea, you need to marry a technical feasibility, new technical feasibility, so that you need new knowledge about possibilities, technical possibilities, or science possibilities, and marry it with new needs from the society or from the other companies. And this is the end of the second unit. Thank you.